Hello everyone, I'm a Beatles expert, and today we're going to be reacting to someone who is wrong about the Beatles. Now, this comes from the Villainous Villains. So we're going to watch it, and we're going to debunk the claims made in this video. So first off, right away, what I want to point out is, Beatles is spelled wrong. It's actually spelled B-E-A-T-L-E-S, as a beat, like a beat. It's kind of a pun. Okay, so let's get to reacting.
Hello there. For today's lesson, we will be going over the comprehensive history of the Beatles, the classic.
So first of all, what I want to point out here is that this is actually not an album cover made by the Beatles. There is again, this is spelled wrong. This would be the spelling for the Creatures, which is shown here. The actual album cover is of Abbey Road, which depicts the human Beatles walking across the road, and there's also extra background here. This is the correct font for the logo, though, so we did get that right. But right off the bat, you see he is already in the wrong.
I don't going over the comprehensive history of the Beatles, the classic. I don't know what your band.
So the Beatles were formed from 1960, and they broke up in 1970 when Paul McCartney left the band.
So, beginning. In 1776, Beatles came over to America in the Yellow Submarine.
So the Beatles actually were not around in 1776. None of them were actually alive. They did go over to America, but they actually started in Liverpool in Britain, the UK. And they performed at various clubs in the 50s for a while. Before coming over to America, actually in 64, when they were already very popular in Britain. And they didn't use a Yellow Submarine to cross, they actually flew. Although Yellow Submarine is the name of one of their songs. It's on Revolver, which came out in 1966, which again, almost 200 years late there.
Once arrived, they burrowed beneath Native American homes and remained dormant for the next 20 years.
So, this actually didn't happen. So, the Beatles never, buried underground. They did have to be snuck out of Denmark, I believe. They had to be snuck out of some country, because they turned down breakfast with, the leader. And also, the Beatles' career didn't even last 20 years. So, they had no time to remain dormant for 20 years. Also, additionally, this isn't about the Beatles, but Native Americans and British settlers in 1776 lived pretty close together. I would say if they were coming over to America, they likely would encounter settlers and not Native Americans.
Beneath Native American homes and remained dormant for the next 20 years. After 20 years, they emerged. After this, they burrowed.
So again, they didn't emerge after 20 years because they had no time to do that.
After 20 years, they emerged. After this, they burrowed beneath the new settlers' homes, aka the Spaniards, and remained dormant for the next 20 years.
So again, this time he has the settlers part right. So the Beatles, if they were to burrow in 1776, they would emerge in 1796, when America was already a thing. It was already settled. So the Spaniards would not be there. It would actually be a fully established nation. Again, 20 years after that would be 1816. They would not have time to do that because they were not even around in that time, and also they never lasted for 20 years.
After this, they came up and realized, oh, there's like British people here now, and they all.
So again, America was already a formed nation by 1816, so they did not have to. They didn't have this realization. They also were British themselves, so they wouldn't be surprised at the fact that they were there.
Oh, there's like British people here now, and they all left America, and then they returned to Britain.
Forget everything you know.
So here he's trying to brainwash you into here he's trying to brainwash you into thinking that he is always right by implying that there's continuity and plot mistakes and errors, but when we're talking about history, there's nothing of the sort. There's just what happened, and in this case, what happened is wrong.
I was trying to think of an example of something not filed incorrectly, but that's I can't think of one. So anyways, once they reached Britain, they burrowed beneath Britishers' homes and the Queen's home and remained dormant for the next 20 years.
Again, like we keep establishing, they were already in Britain. They never burrowed beneath the Queen's home. Paul McCartney was knighted by the Queen, and all 4 Beatles were given certificates of to be on the cabinet. But they did not burrow beneath the Queen's home, nor were they dormant for the next 20 years, in which case it would be 1836. Now, and yeah, they just weren't around at that time, and also, again, they were not around long enough to even have a 20-year dormant period.
Following this, they dropped their hit single, Let It Be, in, I'm gonna say 1820, I didn't do the...
So, again, we are actually in 1836, so this would not be correct at the timeline. Sorry for doubled audio for the past 6 minutes. I do apologize for that. I just realized. But, yeah, so it was not in 1820. Let It Be was, in fact, a song that they released. It was off their album Let It Be. It came out in 1970. They also released it as a single in 1969. It was one of their last singles and one of their most iconic songs today. But yeah, even if we're going off of this false timeline, it wouldn't be in 1820. It would be in somewhere in the period of 1836, 1837. Who knows?
Calculations. The Queen loved it.
So the Queen actually likely did love it because the Beatles are very well respected in the community. They're all royalists, as you know. So I would assume the Queen loved the song, but I don't think she's gone on record saying that. Let me check. Okay, so as you see here, there's no public record or reliable anecdote indicating that Queen Elizabeth II ever expressed a specific opinion on the Beatles song Let It Be, but her taste in music generally leaned toward hymns, show tunes, and traditional songs rather than rock ballads. So again, we don't know if the Queen loved it. They did perform for her in 1963 or 64, and she enjoyed it very much. So I will assume she appreciated the Beatles, or at least appreciated the song.
After this, the Queen was sentenced to death for allowing the Beatles to burrow beneath her home for the 20 years that they were dormant in Britain.
So again, the Queen was never sentenced to death. She is the Queen. That cannot happen. She died on September 8th, 2022 of a illness, I believe. I don't exactly remember how the Queen died, but yeah. It was some condition that was not a death sentence. And again, the Beatles never burrowed beneath their homes. They were not dormant for 20 years. Again, all the stuff we covered before. So,
following this, the Beatles fled Britain and returned to North America, where they found America, the United States of America, to be exact.
Yes, if we're going off of 1836, 1840, maybe even now, if they went to North America now, they would indeed find America, and a very sprawling America at this point too. They also did not flee Britain. They willingly traveled there. They were on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. But yeah, they had no reason to flee Britain, possibly to avoid all the screaming fans. But again, this is the 1840s, so we're not even near the realm of the Beatles yet. We're still about 120 years off.
And they were in the middle of, I was gonna say abolished. They were still doing slavery. So after seeing the slavery, they
were still doing slavery
beneath the plantation and remained dormant for the next 20 years whilst they waited for slavery to end.
So again, none of the Beatles were around during the time of slavery. If they were to remain dormant for 20 years, let's say all this is still 1836, it would be 1856, which is still a period of slavery. Not even during the Civil War yet. So if they were waiting for slavery to end, they would have to maybe tack on an extra 20 years, so maybe 40 years. But again, none of the Beatles were alive during a point in which slavery was okay. So.
Then they came out and burrowed back beneath the plantation whilst they waited for slavery to end. Then they came out and burrowed back beneath the plantation and waited 20 years for the slavery to end. Then, they came out of their burrows and burrowed beneath the ground because there's a civil war going on.
So again, the Civil War did not start in 1856. It started in 1860, 62, somewhere around there. So yeah, the Civil War would not have been going on. Conflict would be brewing, of course, but there would not be a all-out war.
Now we're in the year 2004. John Lennon...
So again, that's not how time works. You don't just skip 120 years, and if they were dormant for the 120 years, that means they must have completely skipped all their history. So again, that is not how time works. Maybe he's implying that 2004 happened after the 1860s, which is likely. There was similar culture, but yeah, who's really to say what he means by that? It's just plain wrong.
Civil war going on. Now we're in the year 2004.
Now this is actually a really good call out because Shrek 2 did indeed come out in 2004. I just want to point that out. That's good.
John Lennon was shot 48 times by Lee Harvey Oswald whilst touring America.
So there's a number of things wrong with this. First of all, we're gonna do this. John Lennon was not shot 48 times. He was shot 16 times in the chest. He also was not shot in 2004. He was shot on December 8th, 1980. He also was not shot by Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay. He was shot by... He was killed by Mark David Chapman. And he also was not touring America. He actually lived in New York City. He was living in the apartments, an apartment complex, which is part of the reason why he was shot, because he was so easily accessible.
Following this, civil rights activist Martin Luther King said, quote, Lennon.
So, Martin Luther King Jr. Was similarly shot and assassinated, but this time it was in 1968 during the Beatles' reign. Actually, this was around the time when the White Album would be coming out. And the song Blackbird is actually a allegory for the civil rights movement. But yeah, MLK never released a statement on John Lennon being shot because he was not alive for it, because he had also been similarly shot.
The Beatles dead. Lennon. The Beatles then burrowed beneath Martin Luther King's home and remained dormant for the next 20 years.
So again, they never burrowed beneath MLK's home because he was dead. And if this was in 2004 and they remained dormant for 20 years, we're now in the year 2024, in which George Harrison's dead. Oh, also, that's the thing. In 2004, George Harrison was also dead. He died of lung cancer in November of 2001. So it would just be Paul and Ringo emerging in 2024, which, again... that never happened. There was not all four of them, in which I guess there would be three of them in this case. But yeah, MLK's home has since been destroyed.
Following this, they emerged once again and dropped that one album with them walking across the crosswalk. I can't remember.
So what he's referring to here is Abbey Road. This is actually a picture of Abbey Road here. It's a very famous tourist destination where you can take a picture of yourself walking on the road. Again, by 2024, half the Beatles were dead. It was just Paul and Ringo. So they couldn't have released this album. They actually released Abbey Road in September of 1969. It was one of their final studio albums. It was the last one they recorded chronologically before they broke up. But yeah, he got the fact that that was a Beatles album right. So good on him.
What it's called. They then invented time travel and went back to the 1950s.
Do I even need to say it? They never invented time travel. The Beatles have never invented time travel. Time travel to the past is scientifically unfeasible at this moment, as of 2026. Yeah, and if they travel back to the 1950s, and that's how he pulls together this tale, I guess technically, yeah, the Beatles, the first iteration of the Beatles, the Quarrymen, was formed in 1956. So supposedly that could be true. Also, this is not appropriate. making fun of schizophrenia is never okay.
Following this, they burrowed beneath Nixon's home. Thank you for watching my comprehensive
Fuck. So, they did not burrow beneath Nixon's home. President Nixon he wasn't president in the 1950s. He actually became president in the 1960s. So you're about a decade off. And again, the Beatles never buried beneath any home. So let's watch this outro.
Burrowed beneath Nixon's home. Thank you for watching my comprehensive history of the Beatles. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe for more content. See you in the next one.
So again, this needs to, what the fuck? This. So this person clearly needs to be educated on the history of the Beatles. He barely knows anything. He thinks all they did was burrow underground and remain dormant for 20-year periods. He thinks they invented time travel. He thinks John Lennon was shot in 2004. And he only really named 2 songs. Actually 1 song and an album. But I'll give him that. He knows they exist. So yeah. All right, that's much more to discuss. If you want to hear more about history of the Beatles, make sure to subscribe to our channel down below in the description. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you in the next one. Keep listening to music.